The man took out a rare item of high purity. He wanted to ask the addict in front to help unlock it. The addict seemed to be despised but still slowly removed a box of iron from his boots, and there were 2 cigarettes. The crowd around everyone was surprised. The smoke alone, spreading when lit, was enough to make them irresistible, because they are treasures that only exist through narrative. Not only that, they have never seen a window. This is probably the star window. They have never seen the light. Only one of them witnessed the sun when they were young, before it got cold. Discs years ago, mankind launched artificial refrigerants into the atmosphere to prevent the trend of global warming, but accidentally caused the Earth to return to the Ice Age, and almost lost all life. Only a few people still exist thanks to a train around the world running on an eternal engine. But for some reason, the founder regulates the class based on the order of boarding. The first person becomes the upper class, sitting in the head and enjoying the majority of resources on the train. The person who boards last can only live in a dirty and cramped bunk bed. Every day, they live thanks to the protein block of unknown origin from the upper layer. Just a little discontent or protest will be suppressed by the army forces with force. Even the children born are taken away. Periodically, the upper class will send a yellow-shirt woman to collect children with specific height and weight. It is not clear what their purpose is, but no one has returned. Andrew did not want his children to be taken away, so he threw his shoe at the opponent. The strange thing is that despite the net bleeding, the yellow-shirt woman was not angry, because compared to the penalty Andrew was about to receive, this wound was indeed not significant. An employee applied a lubricant to his arm and set a countdown for 7 minutes, then installed an iron ring and opened the vents of the ship, bringing his arm out into space. The cold caused Andrew to scream in pain. But when the iron ring and ventilation are completely closed, the screams also turn. The shivering face did not dare to breathe hard, seeing the effect on the people threatened. The mayor holds the crime tools to put on Andrew's head. Then, because the people below are like shoes and she is like a hat, mocking them, they were born with the fate of making shoes, and were about to be kicked on the ground. She showed off that her father was lucky to be born at the head. She wanted this way to extinguish their newly germinated resistance. As soon as she finished speaking, 7 minutes also ended. Andrew's arm was pulled back and was crispy. After that, the hammer was dirty. The catastrophic scene made the people at the end of the car not dare to look, and that was also the effect that the mayor wanted to achieve most. But from a young age living in Velvet, she forgot an iron rule of human society, that oppression breeds protest. Curtis is waiting for a chance. Every day he observed the time the protocol guards closed the doors, and obtained a 4-second data window. He returned to the crowd and found a special protein block. Inside contains information from a supporter on the upper floor. Last time it wrote protest, and this time there is only one name, Namgung Minsu. Curtis knows this person, and now he is being imprisoned in the 4th toxic prison from here. He is a security system expert and can help them open the doors when going to the head. But in only 4 seconds, how can you pass 3 doors to reach the prison? Moreover, the opponent also has a gun in his hand. Gilliam, the leader, advised him to wait for more information, but Curtis thought it was not necessary, because when he took the protein, he discovered the ammunition of the guards was empty. Since then, he speculated the wagon's ammunition has been exhausted after 3 previous suppressions, and the immediate problem is only to overcome the doors. Curtis immediately came up with an initiative. The next morning, he mobilized people to collect all the pipes that were removed in the last car and grafted them into a column long enough to block all 3 doors. But unexpectedly, when completed, the food protocol made people immediately panicked. The deputy leader, Edgar, hurriedly ordered the steel column to be used. But this plan could only extend the time. When the guards took attendance, everyone had to sit down. Before she could open 3 doors, the plan had failed. Fortunately, Edgar reacts quickly. He opened his mouth to incite people to protest together to buy a little time. But when the 3 doors opened, Curtis hesitated, because if he guessed wrong, a series of bullets would sweep them. So he definitely decided to go to the test alone. They have no bullets. The periodic violence is officially terminated. The people below have nothing to fear. They cleaned out the guards and stopped the steel column towards the door, adding food cars that Curtis pushes to help people's progress faster and faster. In the blink of an eye, they have entered the prison. The long-standing prisoners who used to live in peace were completely unable to resist. They were completely destroyed in one fight. But the advantage is only temporary, because when people saved Namgung, they discovered that he was asleep and couldn't wake up. Fortunately, Curtis was prepared, and ready to bring rare objects near Namgung's nose. He just smelled the smell and immediately woke up. But surprisingly, when Curtis clearly stated the purpose of wanting to use rare objects to ask Namgung to open the door, Namgung seemed indifferent and quietly pulled a box from his leather shoes. The inner thing made people almost drop their jaws because it was a cigarette that has been extinct for decades, not to mention his own stick. A boy who could not hold back curiosity silently took them away, but did not expect this seemingly small action to be a saving stem of hope. At the same time, Curtis also lost all patience. He decided to use violence to force him to cooperate. Namgung only likes to eat hard, not soft, so he agreed right away, but on one condition. Opening a door must be paid with 2 rare objects, because his daughter also likes these things. After the agreement, Namgung immediately embarked on the job. Everyone was waiting in front of the door, but she suddenly announced that there was no one inside. When it opened, it was so. The dormitory of the soldiers was empty. Curtis looked at this scene and suddenly felt curious about her. She later guessed that there was a person running in the next car, proving her awareness far beyond an ordinary person. And the old man here knows. Previously, he was in the last car, but was then arrested here to produce protein blocks. Everyone first saw the hot food, so they went down to eat and drink. At this time, the old man suddenly discovered the dark secret of the processor. Curtis climbed up. Unexpectedly, the cooking ingredients were such that it made him nauseous intensely. Seeing people continue to eat, Curtis and his unkind friend could only be angry with the chef. But from here, they found a clue. Curtis asked the chef who wrote this piece of paper, but the opponent only followed orders, so he absolutely did not know anything. On the paper, Gilliam had just awakened. He suspected the mysterious person wanted them to take the water supply, so they do not need to hit the head car. They can still own a card negotiable with the train leaders. But when they were about to open the next door, her face suddenly changed. Hurry to remind him not to open the door, but it was too late. Hundreds of masked men are waiting. Seeing this match is completely unlike the sporadic soldiers before, but now they have no way back. A big man in the team actively stood up ahead, prepared to rush at any time. Unexpectedly, the next second, they offered a dead fish. Under the suspicion of everyone, they stuffed weapons into the belly of the fish, which was still full of blood. Other names also follow. It seems that this is a ritual before the battle that makes Curtis remind Edgar to be more careful. The battle immediately exploded. Curtis and Edgar pioneered people to move forward. Thanks to the advantage of quantity and the spirit of not fearing death of everyone, they approached the middle of the car. But right now, the opponent's commander blew the whistle. To pause. We are about to cross the Akaterina Bridge. Curtis heard that and was dumbfounded. What does this sentence mean? 19, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. It turned out that every time the train passed this bridge means another year has passed. But unlike the upper class celebrating, Curtis and the commander are worried, because the location of the bridge is near the snowy mountain, and often has the track turn off. Be careful and don't touch. And the second time. And next we'll have a third time. But at this time, Namgung was not clear, because of the drug or was looking for something. He suddenly risked standing up and leaned against the window and stared at the plane under the bridge, seeming to have a thought. Soon, the train passed the third snow. Gradually, everything would return to the right trajectory. Curtis immediately stood up and prepared to continue fighting, slowly being carried into his head. Looking back, it turned out to be the mayor personally coming to supervise the battle. Curtis hated her to the bone marrow, but now they are dominating, so of course he does not intend to give her a chance to speak up. The mayor felt that it was not her intention. She did not expect these people to eagerly want to die. When she finished speaking, she put on night vision glasses brought in by her subordinates. At the same time, the soldiers also wore glasses, making Curtis a bit difficult to understand. Namgung explained that behind the bridge will be a tunnel. Curtis heard that and immediately felt wrong. Everyone sat down. Namgung immediately hid her daughter in the repair furnace. When the train completely entered the darkness, Curtis and his teammates were like headless chickens in the darkness. Their spirit is extremely tense. They even started fighting each other. They were tied to limbs, so they could only stand still waiting for people to come to save them. Fortunately, while in samsara, Curtis remembered his own stick that the boy stole before. When he saw the light shining through the gap of the tunnel, he needed fire. Squeezed, went to get the fire, transmitted the order later. The boy received the signal. In the call of everyone's hope, the boy's speed is too slow, so Kojo runs forward. In the middle, new torches are constantly lit. The small fire gradually broke out like a wildfire, the red light shining on the entire car. The situation immediately changed. The fearful mayor was trying to escape and was thrown into the caf by a young man. Curtis heard screams. As soon as he came back, there was a person who was trying to save the mayor, so he tried to run to stop him. Unexpectedly, halfway he found that Edgar was arrested. One side is an important card. One side is his brother's. In this situation, it is really hard to choose. Because the need was great, he could only hurt Edgar and run towards the mayor. Looking at the Edgar body, Curtis tried to lead the mayor to go behind the squad. The long-haired bodyguard, Franco, did not mind. He rushed into the crowd to attack Curtis to save the mayor, but was stabbed by Yona's unconscious actions. Franco saw this scene and almost broke his heart. But because he was arrested, he could only use his eyes to be a little angry. The victory side not only lost all forces, but also had to use the mayor's life in exchange for Edgar's network. I don't know if there is a word or not. Curtis is planning to use the mayor as a hostage, plus the water supply area as a condition to scramble for resources. Unexpectedly, the mayor was a cold shower. She said that the water resource on the train was taken from the top of the train when breaking the ice. To use the water supply area to threaten the founder is no different from closing the faucet to threaten a lake. This mayor position only needs the founder to agree. A dog can do it. Curtis heard that and immediately woke up, so he rushed to handle the opponent. The mayor was so scared that he almost wet his pants. Hurry to say that you know the position of the founder and can lead them there. Thanks to that, this dog's life is kept. But Curtis did not expect that despite winning half, Gilliam advised him to stop his hand on the grounds that they were too big. Curtis feels very difficult to understand. So far, there is no benefit side in the war, so he did not agree. Gilliam saw that, so she also understood that she was no longer suitable as a leader. So she did not say anything more, but just reminded Curtis when meeting the founder to certainly not give the opponent the opportunity to talk, but to eliminate him directly. He seems to be afraid that the opponent would reveal something. The next day before leaving, everyone came to take revenge, which is to put the shoe on the head of the mayor and leave a picture to celebrate the initial victory of the revolution. Then follow the instructions of the mayor. They entered the real high-end train compartment, and so they witnessed a place like heaven on earth. Unexpectedly, there are still tomatoes in this world. A father also picked one from the flower, glad to tell girls that this thing is called Earth. When he was young, he often walked on it, but the Earth now was in the early days. The soil was completely covered by the snow. And the young girl has grown up on this eternal ship, so she has never seen strange things. At first, she was a bit critical, but soon after discovering something was even more interesting. There is also an aquarium on the train. The large and small cases are sufficient. There is even a professional chef catching fish at the sushi bar for salmon. In the past, these poor people thought they did not dare to dream, but now they rushed into the area of the rich. Of course, you can enjoy it. The mayor also wanted to try a piece, but was scolded by the leader Curtis, and only allowed her to eat people's food from under the floor. The mayor knows these black blocks are made from insects, so it is difficult to swallow. But because of the forced situation, she could only reluctantly bite a piece. Then they went to the surgical compartment. Inside it displays all kinds of chicken, cow, and sheep. Going on is the learning compartment of the rich children. To prevent the children from being frightened by the lower people, they skillfully covered a few handcuffs from the mayor. But Curtis quickly discovered that this was an act, because these children were extremely despised. I heard that passengers at the end of the ship are lazy pigs. Robbery of yourself. No, they are very good, upright, and kind. I often say that. It is true. The teacher is an ideological supporter of the founder of the train, so she praised the founder every day. They also had their own glass movements that reminded me of an old friend in Germany. The teacher then gathered the students in front of the window and took the 7 frozen bodies outside as the lesson. Also instructed the children absolutely not to be curious about the outside. Their thoughts were completely corrupted, but their ability to design traps was still very sophisticated. Because today is a new year, the train will send scenes to the nobility to congratulate. But strangely, even this time, even the bottom of the car received. Not only that, under the result, the first name gave Curtis a small hole. Inside is information from an insider on the upper floor sent down. He opened it and saw a word of blood, but the next string suddenly pulled out the gun. It turned out that it was all a trap. The bullets of the upper floor are not over, and the first name only takes advantage of the delivery to rescue the imprisoned soldiers and then distribute the weapon to the uprising in the rebellion downstairs. Curtis found the situation was not good, so he immediately signaled with his eyes. The mayor then took the opportunity to pick up protest weapons, but was thrown and kicked by Curtis. But when he was about to kill the opponent, the screen in the class turned to monitoring the carriage corridor. Franco executed Gilliam on the spot, pulling Curtis from the illusion of victory back to the painful reality. Fortunately, Tanya slapped him to wake up. "You must lead us." Curtis regained his spirit, immediately moving forward. To handling the mayor, he did not know what to do, and then took the rest of the people to continue to search for the founder of the train. To save time, they no longer regretted the lavish things along the way, but just glanced at them and moved on. Unexpectedly, the life of the upper class was so luxurious. The library, a tailor shop, or a cafe is full. Each person dressed in a luxurious appearance. It was just in their eyes only a little fear. Most are contempt. At the same time, Franco was close to the classroom. Seeing the train running through the circular line, he did not hesitate to shoot at the glass. Planned to take this opportunity to destroy the Curtis group. The soldiers were not good, so he advanced to prevent, but Franco decided to report the player because his lover was gone anyway. He lived without any more meaning. Soldiers can only fight and try. Curtis did not want to wait to die, so he was determined to stand up to shoulder the gun towards the opponent. Franco also did not give up, but because the distance was too far, the two sides shot forever and still did not hit anything. At this time, Namgung suddenly realized the snowflakes flying from the hole seemed to be no longer as dense as before. At the same time, Curtis did not want to add more trouble, so after shooting a hit, he took advantage of continuing to move forward when the train returned to the main line. Unexpectedly, when he was about to break the second door, Franco held a rifle from behind, causing the whole group to temporarily escape into the sauna room. At this time, Franco was crazy. Be a little moved and he would immediately open fire. He had just killed a person of the upper class. Franco did not answer, but just turned away to get the weapons of the soldiers who had just died, making the new soldier fear hurriedly express his loyalty. The deputy commander took the opportunity to attack him with a knife, then accurately launched the knife into Franco's back. The two immediately struggled. Curtis was afraid of shooting his teammates wrongly, so he did not dare to open fire. The two fought from the middle of the room to the back, but Franco suddenly won. By the way, the deputy is hit, and Franco picked up the rifle against Curtis. Curtis is one step slower, so he is hit in the hand. Tanya panicked to help, but could not hold up against the half-defeated foe. Curtis was injured in his hand in the world, so only a few moves were beaten by Franco. Instead, he prepared to finish Curtis. The deputy commander asserted his hand to block the knife. Unfortunately, he became a victim under Franco's blade. Looking at the bodies on the floor, Franco feels satisfied. He began to search for the killer to avenge his lover. Namgung enlisted when he lost his guard immediately to attack, and then pressed him under his body. Curtis took the opportunity to pick up the knife straight into Franco. The most loyal man collapsed. Curtis's group now only 3 people left, holding hatred without discharge. He could only carry that resolute heart to continue to the head. Nothing can make him shaken. But for some reason, the father and son of the Namgung family constantly collected the strange items on the table and even took 2 more fur coats. After that, the 3 people went smoothly. With no effort, they came to the founder's office. As long as they get to the opponent to gain control, the people in the bottom can overthrow the upper class. But when Curtis asked Namgung to open the door, the opponent did not want to open the door of power behind him. Because although Curtis has power, it does not change the nature of man. At most, just an upside down between the upper and lower floor. So, he wanted to open another door, a free door. Only when leaving the train will people really be liberated. Curtis heard that he was crazy, because the outside was so cold that the penguin died. Remember that bridge? It is the squeezing car by helping. Every year when the train passed, I saw. In the snow, there was a plane. 10 years ago, the tail was almost no longer seen. But now you can see the fuselage and aircraft wings, meaning the snow and ice have begun to dissolve. Snow increasingly thinning. It is still possible to go out. Curtis just thought he was crazy, because if he could really go out, he wouldn't need to find rare things. Hearing that, Namgung immediately straightened his face, and said that these are all extremely strong flammable chemicals. Just enough quantity can make bombs, and this is the key for him to open the door. Saying that, he stood up to stick the bomb on the door and put his hand out to ask for a box of matches. Seeing the opponent serious, Curtis hurriedly stuffed the box into the pocket of his pants, because if the wrong judgment, everyone would die. But soon a sound attracted the attention of the 2 of them. The woman took a bit of measurement and then removed the bomb and told Curtis that the founder Wilford invited him to have dinner with him. After saying that, the guard picked up the rifle on the floor and escorted Curtis into the engine car. Inside was the glowing device of the Ever engine. By the time he met Curtis, Wilford praised his courage because he was the first rebellion who could reach the head. He then did not hide anything else and faced Curtis's deep question, why oppress people in the last car? Wilford explained that this train is a closed ecosystem, so it must maintain a balance between resources and population. But the natural death speed was too slow, so he was forced to cooperate with Gilliam to use extremist measures. Firstly, divide the class completely, and then let the upper class oppress people downstairs. By then, just Gilliam calls between the upper and lower floor, the war will break out to help quickly reduce the number of people on both sides. Hearing Gilliam is also part of the conspiracy, Curtis could not believe it, because no one would go to kill his own team anyway. Wilford explained that they had plotted to launch 4 wars together. Between Wilford's school, the special army will be installed between the cars and then take advantage of the darkness when the train passes through the tunnel to defeat the rebellion. But this time, Curtis suddenly received help separately from Namgung, so he used light. The last defensive route caused the front to suffer heavy losses. Therefore, Gilliam had to pay the price, and the population in the last car to be reduced could not escape fate. After saying that, Wilford called his head and told him to start slaughtering, just holding 18 people. Clear, your people, moms, Cloud, carefully the engine, it is quite sensitive lately. At this point, Curtis realized his resistance was ridiculous. He was like a ball, deflating down on the chair. But then, Wilford called Curtis to stand up and took him to the eternal engine, told him why he revealed this secret. Because he was old, he needed a successor, and Curtis was the person who was capable to reach this, the most suitable person. Before such a great deal of mind, if he said he didn't move, he could not think of any other way to balance the population and resources. Moreover, how can you deserve the sacrificed teammates? Wilford looked out. Curtis could not overcome the barrier in his heart, so he took out a metal box. It turned out that the person who always sent the news to Curtis was him, and this proved that he had just said was not fake. Curtis himself is just a chess piece in the plan. The responsibility of the human leader assigned to him. Without him, humanity would destroy. Do you know the consequences of having no leader? Resources are exhausted. People eat people. At the same time, Yona awakened to discover that his father was injured. Worse, the upper class knew the rebellion army entered the head and began to organize forces to counterattack. Namgung could not escape, so he resisted and commanded his daughter to break the door. After many trials, it was finally opened, but the alarm had just sounded and immediately came out to check. Yona took advantage of a bottle of wine to feint the guard, but before she was happy, she discovered that Franco had not been around. Yona immediately opened fire, but her skill was too bad, so she still did not hit the target. Franco has no concerns. Look at Franco slowly approached. Immediately tell her daughter to quickly place the bomb breaking the door, and I will stay in the way to block him. Yona did not dare to slow down, running into the head to ask for Curtis, but Curtis caught her hand. At this point, she realized that the boy who destroyed the stream has now become evil. Right now, with sharp hearing from a young age, she discovered a static movement on the floor, so she took the sidewalk and raised the brick. Curtis knew her ability and rushed to help, but he saw the dirt behind the leader. It turned out that the children who were taken from the last car were all here to work hard until they died. But Wilford did not see anything wrong. He said that the eternal engine is just an energy-generating device. It does not mean it never breaks. It also needs maintenance, and this place can only accommodate children under 5 years old. Thank God, the last car is always producing bastards. 3 punches broke alliances. Curtis also fully awakened and abandoned the illusion of the train. After a few seconds of hesitation, he reached out to block the gear, causing the eternal engine to stop working. Then he assigned to Yona and told her to quickly go to the door of the train. But soon, the emergency system of the engine suddenly activated. At the same time, a child came out of the closet. Curtis realized it was Andrew's son, so he hurriedly called the boy's name. But strangely, the boy seemed to have lost his spirit and completely ignored him. Then quietly entered the engine control room. Wilford advised Curtis to give up and said that the children were just in the place where they belonged. But Curtis did not give up. If you can't call with love, you will still pull them out of the abyss at all costs. At the same time, the bomb was detonated. Franco was also resolved by Namgung. The father and son hurriedly ran into the head to avoid pressure. Curtis gritted his teeth to endure the pain, breaking his arm. But unfortunately, due to damage to the circuit at the opening, the door could not be closed. Namgung saw that and immediately turned to run towards his daughter. Curtis immediately understood and went with him to protect Yona and the boy in the middle. Good loss. The unexpected explosion caused a snow cave-in. The people in the car heard the sound and immediately looked out the window. In the end, only a part of the wagon stopped. After leaving the tunnel, no one survived except Yona and the boy, protected by Curtis and Namgung, so they were lucky to escape. Yona stood up to feel the air temperature in the pink hole. After confirming the safety, this was the first time the two had seen the outside world after being born. Both were curious with everything in the immediate future, and vague about the future. But the livelihood of humanity can only be sent to the two of them, and a polar bear is seen in the distance, meaning life might be possible. The movie ends here. If you enjoyed it, please don't hesitate to leave a like and leave a comment in the section below. Goodbye, and see you again in the next videos.